So I've been testing the new NARS Natural Radiant Longwear foundation for, I want to say about 2-3 weeks now, and I have opinions. So I'll be reviewing that for you today along with swatches of the entire shade range and a wear test over many hours. But wait, there's more. I thought it might be helpful to compare the new NARS Natural Radiant Longwear foundation with the NARS OG Sheer Glow. I just think it's nice to have like a reference point, and also I think that many of you might have tried the NARS Sheer Glow, so hopefully this review will be more helpful for you. So clearly there's a lot going on in this video, so I will put timestamps in the description box in case you really want to fast forward to something in particular. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the claims, what NARS claims about this new foundation. There's longwear and then there's strongwear. I don't actually know what that means. Natural radiant finish, which I would translate as a satin finish. It's lightweight, transfer resistant, sweat resistant, fade resistant, and non-drying. They are a lot of claims right there. And then if we were to look at Sheer Glow, NARS claims that this has a sheer buildable coverage, medium coverage. It's got a natural radiant finish as well, and skincare benefits. So based on these claims alone, you would imagine that the natural radiant finish should have better longevity, but we shall see. So I believe Sheer Glow had 20 shades in the range, and then the new NARS foundation has 33, and the spread is really nice and even. I hope you can see that. So we've got your lights, your mediums, and then your deeps. Beautiful gradient, bravo. So feel free at this stage to pause the video on these swatches to inspect and ponder and screenshot, do what you gotta do. Also, it's worth noting that NARS is known for their very yellow shade range. So if you are legit cool toned, or even if you're more on the neutral side, you're gonna have less options than someone who is very warm toned. The deep spectrum here is really well thought out, both in terms of depth and in undertone. I would in future like to recruit some different arms for swatches, but your girl is a one-man show. I'll try to be more organized in future. I did also compare the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear foundation shades to some of the Sheer Glow shades to see if the shade range correlates perfectly. Now what I will say is they're very similar. Like I can see a tiny like fractional difference, but your shade in Sheer Glow will be your shade in the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation. I've got to come up with some sort of shorthand name for that. I'm gonna shut up now. Stay tuned if you want to see the demo and the wear test. Let's do this. So I've tested this foundation over quite a few different primers with like totally different, vastly different results. I was really surprised. So today I'm going to be using the Benefit Matte Rescue, just a little bit on my nose. This is my problem area where my foundation wants to separate and it doesn't really want to adhere. So long story short, what I noticed is that the NARS Radiant Longwear foundation tends to perform best over matte and grippy primers that really set. I did test it over some slippy silicone primers, including my absolute favorite Hourglass Veil, and it was a disaster. I think the extra slip just caused the foundation to transfer like crazy. I was doing my makeup and I knocked my nose with the brush, the handle of the makeup brush. That's where I'm going. And I just had this stripe of foundation missing from my face. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to transfer. I've got more to say. I'm gonna put the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation on this side of my face. Nice bottle, it's glass in case you care. And it also comes with a pump, which I like. I'll show you the consistency. It's a little bit runny, but not one of those super liquidy foundations. So I've gone for the shade Fiji here, right? My body is a little bit of a patchwork. Sometimes it's kind of tricky to determine what shade I am, but we'll start here. As you can see, it goes quite a long way. I'm going to use a beauty blender. If you're new around here, hello, my name is Karima, welcome. My favorite application tool is the beauty blender because I have quite a dry skin type and just gives me the best outcome, so that's what I'll be using today. I have tried this foundation with a brush and it does work really beautifully. It's a bit faster, the application method, so you know, matter of preference. Struggling a little bit to adhere to the tip of the nose. That's not the foundation, that's my nose. My nose always does that. So I'm gonna see if we can just build up a little bit more in the center of the face. And I've completely concealed that pinkness in my cheek here. So as you can see, it does really build on itself very nicely. I think medium to full is accurate. And it is a dimethicone based foundation formula, right? So it does have that silicone slip to it, which I love. They're my favorite kind of foundations. As you can see, natural radiant finish. So it's not matte and it's not super dewy. It is catching a little bit of light on my cheekbone there, but it's not what I would describe as dewy. It's a satin. It's a good, nice, middle of the road satin. I think that kind of finish looks good on a lot of skin types. So I've given this foundation like 5 minutes here to settle down, and it's still a little bit tacky. If I were to press my finger into my face, I would get some transfer. So I've brought you in that little bit closer, and hopefully you can see this foundation is beautiful. I mean, if I had to get really nitpicky, there is this tiny area around the crevice of my nose because I have quite a deep crevice. One could say I've got a deep crevice here, and there is a little bit of product settling there, but like, come on, this is beautiful. There is, like a lot of liquid foundations, there is a dry down, right? Where it gets that little bit deeper as the product dries. But I don't find that it continues to get darker or oxidize throughout the day, although it's hard to predict that. Oxidizing is dependent on your skin's pH and your skin's natural chemistry, and it's kind of tricky to predict, but this one doesn't oxidize on me. Okay, on this side of my face, I'm going to use the NARS Sheer Glow, again in the shade Fiji. I don't recall it always being this way, but I bought this recently and I had to buy a pump, a separate pump, so it doesn't come with one already, FYI. So the consistency of this one is, I'd call it pretty similar, to be honest. It's like it'll want to drip down my hand a little bit, but it's not super watery. Just gonna dab that around the face like I did the other side. I would say that the NARS Radiant Longwear does have a little bit more coverage. It's just that one notch more coverage than the Sheer Glow. So that's one light layer of Sheer Glow on that side of the face. And again, I'd say nearing a medium, maybe a sheer to medium. I'm gonna see if I can build a little bit more coverage where I have some redness. I do think that the Natural Radiant foundation tends to build on itself a little bit better. The Sheer Glow kind of started to lift up on itself and it didn't layer quite as well. But right now, I would say that they look pretty darn similar. Perhaps there is a little less coverage on the Sheer Glow side, but the finish is very similar. We've got a little bit of shine, partly due to my skincare, partly due to the foundation. It's a satin finish on both sides, and they both look really beautiful. I'm gonna add a little bit of concealer. This is the Tarte Shape Tape. Awesome, and then I'm gonna take the Laura Mercier Translucent. I'm using this because it's familiar to many of you, and I'm going to set my entire face. Now, this is not something that I do very often, but this foundation, as we've determined, it's transfer prone. That's the word I'm looking for. In order to give this its best chance, I would recommend setting the entire face with powder, even if it's just lightly. Although I must say, I quite like foundations that don't set down entirely. You know, if a foundation sets bulletproof, at least on my skin type, that's cake city. That's going to look really, really freaking cakey. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. You know, if it's going to set down entirely, then it's probably not going to look super duper natural. But if it doesn't set entirely, then it probably will transfer. Such is life. And I'm going to set the other side in exactly the same way. I do not like distort or filter my footage at all. I don't really understand what would be the purpose of that because it's a makeup channel about makeup and I want you to be able to see the makeup. So a little bit of a settling here, but I'm being nitpicky, and this is the Sheer Glow side. So look, at this stage on my skin, they're looking pretty similar. So let's do a flash test. I'm gonna toss in the flash shader right here. Okay, so currently it is 10:15. I'm going to try to have a really long day to really push this foundation to the limit. So I'm going to report back and we'll see how it's wearing. I am back. It is currently 3:46, so 3.5 hours. It's been 5.5 hours since I applied the two NARS foundations. And actually, I prefer the way it looks now. now that, you know, some of my natural oils have started to come in, it looks even more skin-like than it did on application. I've got a little cluster here of some dermatitis, like eczema dermatitis. That eczema is my life. I just get little patches everywhere. But it looks good. The foundation looks great on that area. It's not really catching on that super dry, flaky texture. I have noticed one difference between the two sides, and it's here in my smile lines. This is very, very minute. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to capture it, but the Sheer Glow is creasing a little bit more than the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation. So far, everything is looking awesome. I'm under hot studio lighting here. It is a little bit sweaty, but everything looks perfectly intact. It's not migrating, it's not shiny. We're looking good. So I'm going to come back in a few more hours to give a final verdict. I'm back. It is currently 8:42 p.m. So what is that? 10 and a half hours since I applied the two NARS foundations. And you know what? I think we're doing pretty good. I think both sides of my face are holding up really well. I think that the Sheer Glow is a little bit more matte, actually, and it seems to be a little bit more prone to settling in the laugh lines than the Natural Radiant. On my dry skin, these two do perform similarly, if I'm honest. If I had to pick a favorite between the two, I would probably go with the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear, just because it offers that notch more coverage, right? Which means that I can use less products overall. And I also love the texture. It's got a real glidey texture, very slippy, so it's really easy to apply. It takes no time at all. I would say that the Natural Radiant Longwear is best suited to someone who has a normal to dry skin type and is looking for a medium to full coverage. However, if you have an oilier skin type or you have a habit of really touching your face, I think you're going to really encounter some transfer issues with this one. I noticed on the days when I wore a lot of emollient skincare, more than usual, it really encouraged this foundation to slip and slide and transfer. So I imagine if you naturally have oils on your skin, more oils than I do, that's going to slip and slide and transfer. But on my dry skin type, I really enjoy this foundation, and I think out of 5 stars, I would give it 4. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. This is the kind of foundation that I would reach for if I'm going on a night out and I want more of a flawless full coverage, but I don't want it to be cakey. That's what this is to me. I think it's definitely worth getting a sample of this one. It's definitely worth a try. And if you have already tried this foundation, then let us know what you think in the comments, how it performed on your skin, and also tell us your skin type so that everyone can have a read and be better informed. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? You can join my little internet community that I've got going on in this corner of the internet, you and me. I hope you're having a wonderful day, whatever it is that you're up to, and I will speak to you all very soon. Bye.